name is Paul Inyang. I am the president of Ibom People's Congress, otherwise known as IPC. Welcome to our third International Summit. The purpose of the summit was to re-energize our members and invite new members into our fold, and to look at the issues that are affecting our community. IPC is a membership organization, and we have members all over the world from all walks of life. And so the summit was to reflect the concerns of our members about our state, Akwa Ibom. We appreciate all that is being done by the present government and would like to be a part of the process in building what is an outstanding state already. We hope that as you listen to what we have done, you take away the important points that we have raised. These are concerns of our people, and we intend to be part and parcel of addressing those concerns. We have a stake in our state, and we are willing to work towards making our state better. We thank you for your participation, and we thank you for all that you have contributed to us.
I'd like to introduce the president of IPC, Mr. Paul Inyang, and invite him to make a few remarks. Paul Inyang.
Good morning. Good morning. At least we could make it a little bit livelier. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, good. Great. I distinctly welcome you. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the IPC Third International Summit. Let me assure you that we intend to make you as comfortable as possible. Our summit is a unique event designed for engagement in serious discussions about the future of our state. We welcome you to this discussion, and please let us know what and how we can make your experience great. We are known for our hospitality, so we will try our best to meet your needs. So as you need something, please let us know. Let one of the executives know, and then we will respond to it. We aim for this experience to be cordial, respectful, and focused. Our goal is that hopefully we will have an edifying outcome, and that we will follow with some action plan. Emphasis on the action plan. We need an action plan as we go out, exit this summit, so that we can work tangibly on the goals that we have on IPC. IPC is a non-partisan membership organization that represents people from all walks of life. It is duly registered 501c3 organization that is set up within the guidelines of the Internal Revenue Code that governs most of organizations like this. For that reason, it places some restrictions on what we can do. Yes, we can be political, but we are strictly non-partisan. We can do, the things that we can do are defined. It places the limitation on what we can do. To be more specific, being strictly non-partisan, we cannot support any candidate or political party for any office. In fact, we have much more than that in terms of our political activities that limits us. Being law-abiding citizens, we will remain within the confines of that mandate and the law. Other than that, we are open to discussion as long as they remain cordial and respectful. I guarantee you that we will be respectful here. It is not about disrespect. We want to talk frankly about and honestly about issues, but we will stay respectful. IPC, as you may know, all know, has been in the a vanguard organization and has assumed leadership on issues affecting our people within Akwa Ibom State and nationally in Nigeria at home. Our constituents have always been Akwa Ibomites within the country and outside of the country. Our context has been advocating for, defending, and stimulating conversation about matters affecting the welfare of our people. You are sitting in the seat of government of the United States of America, the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Now, on the southeast side of us, you have Washington, D.C. On the south side, you have Virginia. And on the northern side, we are, of course, in Maryland. And within that area, the metropolitan area, which extends about 100 miles around the city of Washington, we have a lot of people who call themselves Akwa Ibomites and who live within this context. But this is where democracy is practiced, at least the best democracy that we know. So we are glad that you have come that far to this area here. The theme of our summit aptly is democracy, which assumes a political tone. Ladies and gentlemen, we are concerned about our young democracy, which appears to be struggling to define itself in expression and application. I think I can speak for all when I say that we are aware of the true definition of democracy. That is not in question. However, it is our hope that this summit brings together various stakeholders and key players from home and abroad to engage in a meaningful dialogue about the state of our democracy, examine its strengths, failures, as well as the way forward. It is also our hope that the sum effect of this summit will be felt immediately in Akwa Ibom, our beloved state, especially as we move towards the next election cycle of 2015. In my humble opinion, the summit itself is also an opportunity to bring those of us who live outside the country on board with what is and will be happening with respect to peace and development in Akwa Ibom. This will help us figure out a way of being a part of the process with our brothers and sisters at home. Already we have heard the drumbeat that worries us. On a personal note, I would suggest that most of us have very little understanding of and knowledge of the political process at home. This is our opportunity to be so educated. Most of us are confounded by some of the political activities that takes place at home. Based on our experience out here, we sometimes propose ideas or make commentaries which are often referred to as unfair criticisms by many. Our brothers and sisters need to view our contributions as a necessary requirement for the diversity of opinion in the discourse. Democracy was not meant to be complicated, nor was it meant to be perplexing. Trust me when I say many are lost in the mechanics and the legal maneuverings attending the results of elections in Nigeria. Furthermore, Nigerian politicians have seen to it that we who live abroad are disenfranchised. After all, we cannot vote, and often the extent of our participation ends at making comments and donating funds to support the process. I once asked a politician to come and speak to us in the diaspora, as they so call. And he told me, why do I need to speak to you? You don't vote. You are not my constituent. Why would I need to talk to you? And sure enough, he did not show up. We wonder why a nation that is struggling to find its foot would ignore its diverse, capable, resourceful, and significant constituents abroad. ignoring the lessons of many nations who have made it a point to include all its citizens abroad in their future plans. Often we see on TV or in person where citizens of other nations stand in line and vote at their respective embassies and wonder why Nigeria has made it a point to ignore its citizens. This is, in fact, an opportunity to open up this dialogue. We are not here to bastardize the electoral process or democracy in Nigeria, but we must ask ourselves hard questions. Is the current situation what we can truly call democracy? Is it something that we can be proud of? We all assume it is a one-man, one-vote event, but why do we often end up with consensus candidates, stuffed or stolen ballot boxes, and partial stroke questionable victories? These are many questions and important issues we would like to discuss at this summit. Finally, IPC is an organization that relies on our members for support. On behalf of the board, executives, and our many committees, I want to invite you to be a part of our work. We invite you to join us as members. Our mandate is as follows: advocating vigorously for our people in all matters, including the judicious use of our natural resources, scrutinizing the provision of basic needs for our people, demanding good governance based on democratic principles, promoting and encouraging opportunities for meaningful economic participation by our members, collaborating with government of the day to ensure sustainable growth. Again, I emphasize that because we are often seen as enemies of government, and we are not. That's the last thing we are. And we are often confused between IPC and IBOM Congress. IBOM Forum is different from IPC. IPC is a volunteer organization that advocates for people. But IBOM Forum is where people express their thoughts, their concerns, and their opinions about the political process or anything they so choose to do. And so IPC is often confused with that. Our mandate is very simple. We are not there to bring down government. We are here to build. We are here to liaise with government to do whatever we need to do. And we want to be a part of that process. But IBOM Forum functions has a function, which is to allow people to vent, say what they have to say, and bring issues that may be tough to front. And some of us do express our opinions on those. But again, it should be understood that if we do, as individuals, that is our individual opinions, not necessarily the organizational opinion. If we send out something, we do send out what we call communiques all the time on issues, and we have done many of that in the past when issues of note occurs. But we always put it on our letterhead, and we express and say that this is IPC sending that out. These are our core laudable principles to which we subscribe. We aim to reconstruct an already estimable organization. We want you to join us in our quest and would appreciate your contributions, financial and otherwise. Join us as we plan for our next summit, which we hope will be in Uyo, our state capital. We want to thank you for coming. We want to also thank our state government and commend the cabinet under the leadership of Governor Godswill Akpabio for the work done so far in improving Akwa Ibom State. On behalf of the IPC Board Executive, Summit Planning Committee, and our members, we thank you and we welcome you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Paulian. That's the president, the last speaker, the president of IBOM People's Congress, IPC. The acronym is IPC. Our next speaker is Dr. Tom Baker. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Tom Baker.
I want to use this opportunity to join the moderators in welcoming everyone here. I want to use very few minutes to go through the past IPC recommendation based on the previous summit that we had, one in Houston in 2004 and a follow-up summit at Rio in 2006. As a matter of fact, the essence of this very summit today, of course, includes all those areas that were talked about previously. Perhaps there are two key areas that were not mentioned last time because they were non-issue as at that time, one of which is security or insecurity. And the other one is the issue of zoning. In the previous summit, we did recommend first for the government to establish Center for Strategic Studies and Economic Development. That, of course, I don't want to go into explanation of what that means. Maybe later on we will look into this one by one as people will have opportunity to speak. The other, perhaps the most important issue that we deliberated upon last time is the issue of democracy. That has been mentioned again by the president and of course the lead moderator. Democracy. Again, I don't want to go into detail or explaining why this is an issue. It is main issue. I mean, which to me, everything as far as development in the country is concerned hinges on a working democracy. Of course, the issue of education has eluded, quality education has eluded us. Thank goodness we have someone here who will be talking on that. That's where Professor Ndon will be, at least will say something about education. Again, still a part of the democracy which we talk about is lack of accountability in the government, and we have previously, again, recommended the establishment of diaspora department in the state government. This is an area that concerns me because this is what I'm doing for a living, and that has to do with drinking water. In the state of California that I live, water is perhaps more important than crude oil, because the southern half of it is almost desert. And they are doing everything to make sure that millions, 25 million just in Los Angeles and immediate environment, they have drinking water, pure, clean one, not almost, every single minute. But again, a Aquarium that has water almost at everybody's backyard cannot even provide one to its own citizens. So, of course, comes the investment aspect of Aquarium, which has been known as the civil service state. This is where our one of our guests here, representing Tech Modular, will at least present something to us, hopefully before, in the next few minutes, we really plead for discussion. I mean, everyone should be willing to chip in ideas. No idea is too bad or too good. I mean, we just want to exchange ideas and see where we go and add to the already recommended areas. So once again, I thank you. I thank everybody for being here. Thank you.
Hello. Good morning again, everybody. First, I think that I'm more of a spare tire because the lead moderator is doing so well, and he just felt I should also be seen and be heard. It's not about the number of people, it's more about the quality of people. And for those who are doing the presentation, I think seated here are some of the real people that you need as far as Akwa Ibom State is concerned, because they have the reach, the visibility, the ears of government and the people, and whatever is going to be presented, I want you to know that it's not about the number of people that come, it's about the people who can do something about what you want to say. So I really want to tell you that you are in the right place and that we're eagerly awaiting your presentations, and I hope there will be something in the area of housing. I work directly with the minister. I'm a member of the Ministerial Implementation Team on Housing in Nigeria, and I'm a member of the Presidential Committee on Housing. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to take something out. We have a former Minister of Housing in Nigeria also seated in this hall today, and a lot of very, very important other people. So I think that you're in the right place. I'm supposed to be introducing people and not talking too much. So at this point, I'd like to call on the Vice President of IPC in person of Dr. John Okon to come and give us a keynote speech, which is towards sustainable development in Akwa Ibom State. Dr. John, please.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am basically what you may consider a ram in the bush, because Professor Nyang is not here, and it's a tough act to follow, but I'll try to do my very best. I welcome everybody once again to Washington, D.C., Gaylord, Maryland, and to IPC. Your Excellencies, Your Royal Highness, executive members of IPC, distinguished guests, Honorable Minister, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I start with a quote from late Bobby Kennedy in 1966, which says, each time a man stands up for an ideal or act to improve the lots of others, or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring. Those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. That's Bob Kennedy, 1966. Good morning again. I'm delighted to join you for the third IPC Summit here in the great state of Maryland, literally a few blocks from the state capital, the nation's capital. As a social scientist, I believe that communication in a setting of this magnitude is the fulcrum for change. As an illustrious son of Akwa Ibom State, and a proud one for that matter, it gives me great pleasure to see distinguished Akwa Ibomites with various degrees of intellection come together once again to seek solutions to the erstwhile problems of our dear state. To name but a few: security, freedom, economy, democracy, and social progress. I commend you in your tireless effort and dedication in the cause of promoting democracy in Akwa Ibom State. Let me especially thank the chair of the 2013 IPC Planning Committee, Dr. Tom Becker, for his effort, insightfulness to coordinate this year's summit. We in the executive board really appreciate your sacrifice, Tom, your perseverance, and your commitment to the progress of our dear state, Akwa Ibom. Today we gather once again as drivers of development in this journey to economic, political, and social emancipation of Akwa Ibom State. As noted by Dr. Tom Beke in his keynote address at the second IPC Summit in Uyo, quote, IPC Summit is not just about understanding the causes of the economic and social woes of our state. It is about a determination to institute prosperity in Akwa Ibom State through effective and collective economic, financial, political, and social initiatives. Ladies and gentlemen, we can all attest to the fact that democracy is never easy, never smooth, never linear. Rather, a process encompassing trial and errors with many ups and downs, even more so in our country, Nigeria. The good news is that the 21st century instinct is the democratic instinct in Akwa Ibom State. This instinct, in my opinion, is stronger than the democratic instinct of the 20th century because the world is swept by the force of globalization. And globalization has to do with bringing a greater connectivity of people, goods, services, information, ideas, communities, and individuals who will be mutually enlightened. Prosperity will spread, middle class will grow. In that process, as they grow in strength and confidence, sooner or later, they are bound to seek greater transparency and accountability in the decisions that affect their lives. No political system can ignore this. The theme of this summit, promoting peace and development in Akwa Ibom State through credible and sustainable democracy, sets the stage as well as revisits the narratives of implementing a creative reconstruction plan for sustained economic and social development initiative that is open, equitable, inclusive, effective, and performance-oriented in our dear state. Ladies and gentlemen, to the credit of our current government in Akwa Ibom State, many projects have been executed and completed. But it is arguable if there are massive sustainable economic development initiatives that has enhanced the livelihood of a great number of Akwa Ibom people since our last summit in 2006. Development, in my view, is about expanding capabilities of people to live lives they value for this and for future generations. Historically, the real drivers of development in most civilized countries are healthy, prosperous, and educated in a framework of sustainable development. Sustainability, in my view, represents an approach to development which addresses the fundamental concerns of poverty, environment, equality, and democracy. While the link between development and peace has often been examined, the findings of the examination remain inconclusive. This summit takes a significant step in the direction of a more complete understanding of both sustainable development and the peace process for the generation. For some, sustainable development and peace is an utopian concept. For others, demagoguery. While others continue to consider it to be inherently limited, its applicability to cases of extreme poverty. This reaction to the proliferation of term is understandable, however. The environmental debate and the continuing puzzle of underdevelopment in our state have had an impact on the way we think about growth and progress. Today, there's a general recognition of a need to modify our approach to development in Akwa Ibom State, whether confronting challenges of the present or the future, a new approach to development is a necessity, which requires a real revolution in our behavior and mentality. Sustainable development represents an opportunity to construct a new approach, and the success of that effort has powerful implications for issues of peace and security. Evidently, the relationship between peace and sustainable development cannot be overstated. In our dear state of Akwa Ibom, the plethora of conflict is not unrelated to the question of sustainable development, or better stated, unsustainable development and lack of peace. The evidence of this issue of peace is unequivocal. Lack of peace, that is a situation of ethnic debacles, drains away resources that otherwise might be applied to promote the well-being of the state and its citizens. Let me close by saying this. The most terrible thing to waste in a democracy is the mandate from the people. And the most precious asset to keep is the public trust. Indeed, I see democratic development as a constant process of expanding opportunities and empowerment of the people. It is a process to promote gender equality, bring more women into politics. It is the process to reach out to those that are still marginalized in our state. It is a process to prevent a tyranny of majority and build a national consensus on the future direction of a country. It is democracy where every citizen can become a stakeholder. Finally, let's remember that government matters. Political leadership matters. And I do hope that some of you here today decide to follow the path of public service. It can sometimes be thankless, but I believe it can also be a noble life. But we also have to recognize that the choices we make are not limited to the policies and programs of government. Peace and prosperity in Akwa Ibom around Nigeria also depends on the attitudes of the people. May God continue to bestow his immense blessing upon Akwa Ibom State. Thank you for coming, and we will talk at a later time. Thank you.
That was our Professor John Okon, who delivered the keynote speech. Democracy is actually something that has advantage, decisive advantage in terms of spurring business development. So I have here Carol. I think if I do not mispronounce the last name is Abelera. Carol is the Vice President of Business Development. She will make some remarks and later introduce our colleague who is here with her. Carol?
Okay, now we can say good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to say we thank Mr. Tom Amick for inviting us here to give us the opportunity to speak to you today at the IPC Summit about what we feel is the vision for Akwa Ibom State and how we can help the state reach its potential. I'd like to introduce Mr. Al Morgan, who's the technical director at Tech Modular, who's here with me, that will make some comments before we begin the formal presentation.
Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
How's everybody doing? Okay. We are very, very happy to be here today. We have prepared a formal presentation that Carol will bring you, but I'd like to just say a few words before we start. Let me just put on my glasses here before I can. Now, Akwa Ibom is part of a developing economy within Nigeria. We are here at this summit for the purpose of presenting you with the opportunity to consider the development of viable micro, commercial, and industrial projects in the state, for which we also have the ability to discuss the opportunities available for funding these projects. We also would like to talk about the role that government can play by providing enabling support. The elements that enhance development and attract foreign investors are, first of all, widespread security, simplified processes to ensure that companies can be registered quickly and permits and licenses can be obtained faster. And of course, sufficient electrical power and infrastructure. If this is addressed, Akwa Ibom can lead Nigeria into a full evolution of development, with the Akwa Ibom state being an example for the rest of Nigeria to follow their lead. As in the case of Brazil, Turkey, India, and maybe China, where these countries have evolved and moved into second world economies. Now, the most important factor in growing an economy is employment. Employment is everything. Employment generation is the major driver for the evolution of the economy, which helps maintain the peace. The government in Akwa Ibom has spent enormous amounts of money in developing roads and power plants, which is commendable. We believe the government can achieve even more by being a catalyst for employment generation. And the way that government can do this is by entering into public-private partnerships, PPPs, with local entrepreneurs to finance and develop small and medium-scale industries. The way that government does this is by providing support and initial capital. We at Tech Modular can assist in acquiring foreign capital by the government providing sovereign or bank guarantees. Now, many can say that government is not in the business of building industries. That is debatable. If you take, for example, the cue from the US government during our most recent financial crisis a few years ago, the government intervened and then recovered the money and became an enabler. Right? They provided money to banks to prevent them from collapsing, gave money to auto companies to save them from financial disaster. All of this with the purpose of saving jobs. Now, in the same way that the US government intervened to save jobs, the government of Akwa Ibom can use the same concept to create jobs and then pull back by selling their holdings to the local people. Thank you very much. At this point, I would like to start the presentation, Ms. Chair.
I just want to say before we start the presentation that, all the projects we've come up with, what projects that we feel will add economic growth to Akwa Ibom. And we've done analysis and feasibility studies on these projects that we are confident that will provide economic growth, for the state. So with that also, if anybody is not a very good note taker, not a problem, Mr. Tom is going to download the presentation to the summit website, and so you'll be able to review it at your own leisure.